Yo, what is happening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? It is your hostess with the mostest. It's PKR, Pastor Keenan Riley, and we are here on People Suck, Love Them Anyways. And let me tell you something, whenever you do like three shows in a row, it's called a streak, and we are.
But you can't have a streak unless you've broken the streak.
This is true.
This
This is true. So, so we're on the other side of it now, man. We're doing pretty good. Got 2 or 3 shows back underneath our belts.
I'm ready for another vacation already.
Oh yeah. Ready for another month.
Another
well,
month.
but here's the deal. We got to think about this because see, next Wednesday night we're not having church because of Thanksgiving, so we'll miss next week. And then I think we'll be good all the way up to probably Christmas. So we may.
I don't remember what day Christmas is on.
Christmas is on Wednesday, Thursday this year. So Christmas Eve is Wednesday night. Christmas is Thursday. And then I don't know about you, but you're in the school system now, so you should be off for like till the first of the year, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I might have for a few days. But.
Yeah, I've got. So crazy part is that for me, they make us work on Black Friday, and I'm like, you're high. I'm like, I do a
You're
lot.
Sell ads on Black Friday.
I do a lot of things, man, but I'm like, after I have been the worst version of myself all day on Turkey Day. Like I have eat myself into a food coma, consumed thousands of calories, and don't want to move. Like I feel like if I move, I'm going to puke type deal. And you want me to go to bed and get up early and come in the next day and wear buttons
and not fall asleep.
And not fall asleep and act like I care. For 8 hours. Like you are insane, my friend. So. I very quickly filled out either sick time or vacation time.
We don't know which one.
Whatever I have left, I'm like, yo, whatever. I don't even care what it is. Like or borrow from 26. That's what we're doing now these days. Yeah, that's what we're doing
now. We're going
now.
into vacation day debt.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So if we can do 50-year mortgages now, we can borrow vacation days from 26. Yeah. I feel like, man. So that's a thing. But yeah, so. I'd like to know if you guys, I don't know how the comments work on anything like that, but like, just think about like, I wonder if you're working day after Thanksgiving. I wonder. So we also get the day after Christmas off as well, because that doesn't really make sense to me. It's like
I don't think anybody should have to do any. I don't think the world should move after. Like I feel like
the day after Christmas.
Yeah, because I mean you're talking like December 26th until like January 2nd, basically, right?
But could you imagine?
Nobody's useful.
Right, 1,000%. But could you imagine though, like the hit that the retail stores would take though? Like if you was to just be like, yo, from the 26th up until January 2nd, like everything's closed, we're resetting, be with your family, all that good stuff, and then like January 2nd, bam, we're back. Could you imagine? Like it would just be millions of dollars like lost, and people would be tore all to pieces.
They'd be tore all to pieces. I mean, ultimately, it wouldn't matter. People just are rich and they suck. But I mean,
greed,
yeah, it wouldn't hurt that bad.
No,
they'd shut some store down, and like they do some bankruptcy crap, and all that stuff.
Well, most of the people that I talk to, like whenever I'm selling dead air to people and things like that, they do budgets and they budget everything for the year. So I mean, I feel like if somebody was to introduce and be like, hey, look, like economy shut down from the 26th to the 1st. That's literally like what, 5 days?
Yeah, I was like, it sounds like the purge.
You're right.
We're gonna shut everything.
Well, but think about it though, like 5 days of nothing. Like, I mean, that would disrupt everything. Like, you would have stuff. You have stuff in stores starting to ruin probably in 5. Like, it's just people. We've just become the society. We talk about it a lot.
Society that never sleeps.
That never sleeps, and we just get into this system where we're like on the go 24/7, 365. I've said it before. We're the only mammals that disrupt our sleep pattern from what we're supposed to be doing, which is sleeping at night. And then you talk to so many people who work third shift and sleep during the day, and like they just get their whole system going crazy and things like that.
You move the time back an hour.
Oh yeah. Then you move the time back, or then you lose an hour in March and whatever, and it's just like it's insane, man. How your body reacts to things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think, man, maybe a good 4 or 5 days just shut down, just being at home. I was listening to a lady today. I had a meeting.
COVID 2.0.
Yeah, right. I had a meeting today about digital marketing, and she was talking about COVID, and she was like, during COVID, you started doing things that was like a lost art. And, she's like, you sat down at a table and you played board games with people. And it's like, what are those?
Right.
Who are these people? Yeah, who are these people that are in my house? Oh, you're my kids. Okay, great. I don't see you but once a week. So now I'm seeing you every day. So it's like a reset, man. It's like, you sit down and you're like, man, it's like, this is the stuff that we were doing 20 years ago, when the world may not have been a great place, but I mean, maybe arguably a better place, maybe 20 years ago.
I think so.
Yeah. And so, it's just sometimes you need resets, man. Sometimes you just need a little rest. I feel like sometimes you just need to shut down and just, I mean, you see it during scripture so many times where Jesus would just kind of steal away and he would pray and he would just spend time with the Father and he would just reset, and it basically would come after a huge gathering where he preached, and he healed and he done things like that. And then he would just kind of sift through the crowd and just go and hang out with God and just recharge his juices again.
It's funny to think about Jesus having a social battery. You know,
I
mean, we talk about it as human beings,
right.
Modern America and stuff all the time. Like, oh, my social battery's run out. I've had enough people for today.
Yeah, that's 10 minutes after you get to work. You're like, I'm done.
Clock in, get one email. Nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
We're done.
Mm-hmm.
But it is funny to think about, Jesus having a social battery to an extent. I mean, of course, he had a much stronger connection in prayer life to the Father than we do. But he was definitely getting replenished through that.
Yeah.
And so it is a little bit different, but it is funny to think about.
Right.
Jesus being like, you know what? I don't want to hang around with you people.
Right.
I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah, I don't blame him, man. I mean, and it's, to nobody that's ever been in ministry, like it is crazy how draining it can be to me. Like it's crazy how we're gonna preach here in a few minutes and then go home and teach or whatever. But it's like even and Nick, I mean, I'm sure like you felt it up on stage and stuff like that. Doing a TED talk for 5, 10, 15 minutes, doing a video or something. It's even us doing this. It's completely different from being up on a stage or being in front of people and trying to communicate something that could potentially change their heart and lives. And it's draining. It's in a good way, but it's also very draining because it's like you have this talent or this whatever it is on the inside of you that like you want to pour out, like you want all of it out there. So it's like whether it's like almost like being a musician or a ball player or like something like that. And it's like you want to take everything that you have on the inside and leave it where you are and be satisfied with what you've done. And in order
it's like
to,
you're a hostage negotiator. It's like you're trying everything.
What?
It's like you're trying everything.
You've been playing too much Call of Duty.
No,
That's what
have
you've
actually.
been doing.
Yeah. To me, I just think of it like, we are looking at someone and we are trying everything we can with every breath that we have to convince them of something that's vastly important.
Right.
Like, hey, don't, like a hostage negotiator, like, hey, don't kill those people. Like, let me tell you all the reasons not to do it. Hey, you're going to end your own life. Hey, let me tell you all the reasons not to do that.
I can see that, though. Like, so it's like a stressful situation. Yeah.
Trying to prevent something or something.
Right. Yeah, and I think, man, it's like, it's the time that goes into it. Like, it's the preparation that goes into it. It's the reading that goes into it. It's the prayer that goes into it. And then you have like this moment where you have to communicate it. And then after you communicate it, it's like you have to make sure that you said everything that the Holy Spirit told you to say, that you stay in the Holy Spirit while you're preaching or teaching, because you don't want to get involved. You don't want your flesh to get involved because your flesh is filled with feelings and opinions and desires and things like that. And you might get off on a tangent somewhere where it's like, what are you even talking about right now? And I've been a part of those services. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you have too, where it's just like, the service is going good. And then all of a sudden you're out in left field talking about pork grinds or something, and you're like, what is happening? Like, where are we at? Yeah, right. Like, where are we at right now? Like, is pork grinds in the Bible or what? And so I mean, it's very taxing. I feel like to be able to minister and things like that. And but no matter what you're doing, like the rest, I don't know what you would call it. I don't know. I mean, just give me a word.
I don't know.
Give me a word, man. Reach in my mouth, pull it out of my throat, and put it on the table.
I don't know.
No, just the rest, just the rest in general that you need, just to perform your daily functions, man. Like I literally last night, like we thought that I've got one dog. It's like 106, and I've got one that's pretty young. And the 106-year-old I got home last night, and Andrea was holding him, and that's a big red flag right there, because usually she's like, ooh. She's like,
keep that old wrinkly dog.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, that's your dog, and you take care of him, and you do, And so when I got home, she was holding him, and then she was like, he hasn't felt very good today. And I was like, oh man, and she's like, he's just kind of been wandering around and just acts lost and blah blah blah. And so I ended up sleeping in the middle of the living room floor last night on a little mattress with him, because I could not, I was like, man, if this dog falls out of the bed during the middle of the night, I'm just gonna go light myself on fire and just lay down in the road, because I would feel that bad. You know what I'm saying? I would feel that bad. And so man, I may have got 2.5 hours of sleep last night, and I came in this morning to work and I felt it. I felt it, and I did not want to do anything. I didn't want to do nothing. I didn't want to communicate with people. I didn't want to sit in a meeting. I didn't want to, and it really all stemmed from not having enough rest the night before. And it's just I think our bodies a lot of times tells us, hey, you need to slow down. You need to stop, or you need to get regulated again. And I mean, honestly, I feel like a lot of times that's why our immune systems and stuff get so low, why we get sick for, why we stay sick for. And I mean, Nick can talk about this, about just, the toll that restlessness or that, sleep deprivation can cause on your mental health, and how that literally affects, and you just get in this brain fog almost. And it's you're here, but you're not here type situation.
Honestly, it's funny. It's not the same situation, but it was last night, I didn't sleep too good. I haven't slept good for a week, it feels like.
Yeah.
But it's last night I had to get up, stomach was hurting, and so I had to couldn't fall back asleep for about an hour or so. And I woke up and I told my wife when I got to work today, I was like, I just can't get motivated. I said, my brain is in a fog. I feel like I can't make sense of what I need to do. And of course I've got a lot of things to do. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out what it is that I need to do and all that kind of stuff. But, we talk, one thing that has really stood out to me for a while, it's something that I really did not really mess with or think much about until really the last couple of years. But just, we neglect the thought. We as a society have grown, and we talked a lot about this, where we always feel like we have to go, move, do. We have to be turned on, ready to go at the moment's notice. We have people, like I said, you got people working third shift and sleeping during the day. And, I do believe that there is a natural cycle to things. I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
God created us, he gave us breath, literally breathed life into us. He created us with his voice, with his words.
Mm-hmm.
But we came from nature, right? We came from nature. It says, that God, formed Adam out of the dust, out of the dirt.
Yeah.
We came from nature, and we are supposed to behave as nature calls us to behave.
Mm.
We are supposed to obey the perfect will of God. I think back to the and I may be interpreting this different than other people, but I go back to the story in the Bible where Jesus curses the fig tree because it wasn't producing figs, right? And I think about how nature is supposed to do what nature is supposed to do.
Yeah.
We are supposed to follow the natural order of things. We are supposed to be in tune with nature around us, not to get too hippie sounding, but I'm going
to go deep in this, right? Because you're going to open up that door, and I'm going to walk into this. So go ahead.
But what's interesting to me is, again, I've had this conversation with people too, is I believe that whole hippie idea, hippie culture, being one with nature, chakras aligned, all that kind of stuff. I believe that is just another example of things that God created that the world has misused.
Oh, sure.
Has bent and turned into something completely different than what it is, because I believe as humans, we're supposed to be in tune with nature, because God's spirit literally lives. And I've said this from the stage. I said, God's spirit is in the wood that these pews are made out of.
Right.
God's spirit, God's voice created and spoke all of these things into existence.
Right.
And started all of this in this cycle that we call weeks and months and years.
Right.
God's very breath is in the air that we breathe, and the trees that we see, and all of these different things.
And not to confuse people, not that we're saying that God is the pew. You know what I'm saying? We're what Nick is saying is that, God made the ingredients, the products, everything that is made up to make this pew, God put into existence. And so The thing that I wanted to say was that like you start talking about this hippie mentality or whatever. Have you ever heard of grounding? I think is what
Mm-hmm.
it's called. Okay. And so it's like, you were talking about being formed from the earth, coming from the earth. And and it's like there's a lot of research and a lot of stuff out there that says, that hey, like you can kind of get off like off balance, off kilter. Like I don't know if it's mentally, physically, like whatever type situation, but a lot of people say that you can take your shoes off, go out and stand like in the yard, stand on, just in the dirt somewhere. And if you do that, like it literally brings you back into alignment, like your body. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know. I've not been the guy that's tried that, but I mean, I'm just saying like what you're saying about being formed from the earth. But I mean, think about it, Nick. Like, think about how much stuff like I know, like I get it. None of us would survive in biblical times. None of us from
Nope.
2025 would survive. But like you think back about like just the simplicity of everything of it's like you stay connected to the ground because you didn't have shoes. I mean, you literally like, you grew your food, so you didn't have to worry about like, I mean, yeah, you had to worry about pests and you had to worry about thieves and whatever, but like that's heck, you worry about that just going to Walmart, like. But I'm just saying, like, back then, like, you didn't have to worry about what was in your food. You didn't have to worry about who manufactured your food. You didn't have to, like, I mean, like, it was just so much more simple back then, and people were so much more connected, and you were connected to the earth. Like people relied on the sun. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's 2 o'clock or whatever the case is, or they would. You smell that, smells like rain. It's like people will look at you today, and I'm from the country, so like I can still sit out on the front porch with my parents and be like, even though you see it about the rain, you can feel the breeze coming in before the storm, and like you can just smell.
Sense it.
You can smell. Yeah, there's a different atmosphere that's coming in, a different smell, and just a different feel, and it's like it's just one of those things where if you don't stop and slow down, and if you don't acknowledge that, then you're missing out on a certain aspect of life that God has literally instilled in you. Like I feel like that God gave us. I mean, He gave us senses, right? I mean, He gave us the taste and the smell and the touch and the hear and the see. Like He gave us these things to experience life and to experience the earth and to experience His creation. And so it's like, what are we doing? Like, well, all right, well, like me, I got on 2 pairs of socks right now and dress shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't very grounded. Like and like
you're
if
more far removed than pretty much anyone else in America right now,
right? And I
2 pairs
of socks, man. I do it with dress shoes. It's a thing.
Acts like it's 30 degrees below zero
outside. Right. It's a thing, man. As I get older, my blood gets thinner, I guess. But but yeah, I mean, like, think about it. Like, we're in cars, so it's like, it's like we're not walking anywhere. So we're, convenience is key. Like, we've literally become comfortable in everything, and it's like, but we don't even like. It's crazy because like I don't even know if we're comfortable in resting. It's like we always feel like we have to be doing something, no matter what that something is. You know what I mean? Like we'll reach for a phone at 10:30 at night. Why? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like I'm just scrolling on what? Social media.
I've had that problem bad lately. It's like, I mean, it's just like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Like I'm too tired to play video games anymore. I know I need to go to bed, but what do? I pop the phone open, and you just sit there and scroll for like an hour.
Yeah, and your like, mind doesn't shut off. Your mind doesn't shut off, man. And it's like you feed your mind those images and whatever you're reading or whatever you're looking at or whatever, and it's like you feed your mind that, and then it's like you go to bed and who knows, man? Like you dream, maybe you don't dream. I don't know, but it's like maybe you're dreaming on what you've been ingesting for the last hour and a half. Then you wake up, and you tossing and turning, and things like that, and then you get up early the next morning and you feel like that you've been put in a grass sack and beat to death, like, and you're like,
it's like the description of it, I think.
Yeah, right. Like you're like, oh, and you get up and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I got to take a shower and I got to go to work and I got to, and it's like, yeah, man, but then you're going to go on half jet fuel all day long. And
it's like when you find like, so it's like so many morning, like you get up, rush around, get dressed, get showered. I take my son across the way to my mom and like drop him off, and then like you finally get dressed, get some kind of food in you.
Yeah.
Get in the car, drive to work, and it's like, I just the past couple of days, it's like I fall in my chair at work, and you're just like,
yeah.
It's like,
yeah. It's kind of crazy, man, because sometimes, like, I'm glad you say that, because sometimes it's like you go to work just to rest. And I know that's like employers are hearing this and going, well, that sucks. Like we want we want your best while you're here, But the thing I've come to realize, Nick, and I had a kind of in-depth conversation with my family Monday night, I think it was. And the thing I come to realize is that 95% of the time, like, the people get the best of you, and like your family and like the people that are closest to you get the rest of you most of the time. And people want you to go be your best at your job. Why? Because that's the way you make money, that's the way you supply your family, that's the way you keep a roof over their head, like you do all of that. So you want to go do the best you can, right, for that. But then whenever you get home, you're tired, you're unmotivated, you're broken from the day, you're hungry, like all the things. And so then whenever you walk through that door, it's like the family that you've not seen all day, or the people that you've not been around all day, it's just like, you're like, my tank is on E, I'm tired, like, all this good stuff. And it's like,
lights flash.
It's like, and like all you want to do is take a shower, eat, rest, relax, chill, quietness, all that good stuff. But it's like,
our dumb butts decided to have kids.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
but it's like your family is well, it's to me, it's like, it's like I was telling my family, I said, it's crazy to me that, like, I've always prided myself on being a great salesman, or a great pastor, or a great leader, or a great teacher, or great communicator, or whatever. But I said, honestly, like, my legacy, or like my impact, is going to be with my family. Like I need to be concerned with being a great dad. I need to be concerned with being a great husband. I need to be, concerned in that area, because, like, honestly, like, before God said, "Hey, go do a church," God was like, "I'm going to give you this woman, and y'all are going to have kids." And it's like he gave me that responsibility long before he called me to do this. Or I ain't gonna say before he called me to do this, but before he opened up the opportunity for us to do this. And so, it's like the priority section is that, like, I need to be rested, but not for the work, not for the job, not for that, but I need to be rested for my family. Like, I need to be rested for my wife and kids. I need to be rested for my close friends. I need to be, rested for those people, because, like, they're gonna need me more than anything. They're gonna need my energy more than anything.
Right. And I mean, I think it's something that, I've kind of seen a lot too recently. Of course, if you keep up with my life, because I put it out there on the podcast for everybody to hear.
Do you?
Apparently.
Oh.
But as far as, like, the last few jobs that I've had, like I had a good job, paid well. It was a good situation, a comfortable situation. But again, I wasn't doing what I felt called to do, and so I felt led to quit that job.
Yeah.
Didn't have any luck finding a job in the field that I was looking for, and so I ended up taking a job at retail in the GameStop store. I was very good at the job when I worked it 5 years ago. Figured I'd be good at it again, and I was. I was very good at the job. I turned that store, into something that it was doing some good stuff, right? I mean, profitable, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was doing very well. My sales numbers were very, very good. I was doing excellent, but my home life was trash.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am good at this and it pays pretty well, but my home life's trash. I feel like I don't see my kids anymore. I feel like I don't get time with my wife. I'm not going to be off on holidays or weekends and all these sorts of things, the stuff that to me should really matter.
Right.
All right. And so it's just like, it caused a depression in me, because I was like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is not what my life is supposed to be.
Right.
And so, I'm very, very thankful that I've been able to get this job in the school system now, which, it allows me to have weekends off, holidays off. It allows me to be off a lot more, be home in time for dinner with the family and all those sorts of things. But, and one thing that was I was thinking about the other day, I said, this job does pay less. And I've told you and Julie about it as well, and I was like, this job does pay less, but I said, I come home at 5:30 or, about 6 o'clock at night, and I just feel so much more at peace.
Yeah.
Like I'm coming home every night. I'm like, I don't have to worry about getting a phone call, in the middle of the day when I'm off saying, hey, I need you to come in. I had something come up. I can't work. Or, I can't, I'm not having to go to bed on a Friday frantic that I got to work tomorrow on Saturday.
Right.
Like I get to spend time with my family. I get to, have my daughter more nights than I was having her, and it's just like all of these things work out. And I know, and again, I've said this from the stage before, if I trust that God is my provider, it doesn't matter what the paycheck says.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many taxes are coming out of it. It doesn't matter if somebody wants to take more money from me or not. God will take care of me. There is a certain level of responsibility and accountability you have to have, to make wise decisions, not just quit your job in the middle of nothing for no reason. But, it is, about prioritizing what's important in your life. And a lot of people don't prioritize rest. They don't prioritize their family. They don't prioritize, what God gave them to be stewards of.
Right.
God gave you your family to be a good steward of that, to take care of it, to raise them responsibly, take care of them and be accountable and responsible with them. And, if you can't do that because you're so focused in other areas, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
I think we've said this too, your job is not your calling.
Right.
Your family is your calling. You called to lead your family.
Yeah.
The church and God, Christian world responsibilities are your calling.
Yeah.
But, working a job today, even being a pastor, if you spend all your time, just killing yourself with everybody else's problems, your home life is going to struggle.
Of course it is.
And so it's all about finding those, setting those boundaries, finding the balance, and taking time to rest, to pull back, and to ask yourself what's really important.
Yeah.
Is this job that I'm making a lot of money in, where I have my dream car, dream lifestyle, everything's going great here, but I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm called to do. I'm not getting to spend enough time with my wife and my kids and my church and all these sorts of things.
Right.
You have to be able to take a step back and ask yourself, is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah. One of the things that really woke me up, and my wife, she wasn't being like condescending to me or anything, but she, we were talking the night before, I think it was Sunday night, and she was like, she said, like, you work and that's good. Like, like we want you to work, but, she's like, we have like our own routine without you. It's like, we know like what time supper is, like, we know like what time you're going to, like, they're going to bed. Like, we know, and it's like, and, because one of my like complaints was that, like, I was like, I kind of feel like a stranger sometimes in my own house. It's like, I'm kind of like the uninvited roommate, sometimes. And, even though I was like voicing it as a complaint, just to be totally honest, it was like I had to step back and look and go, well, is the reason why I'm an unwelcomed roommate is because I'm prioritizing other things other than being home with my family. Everybody knows, like, I'm a big gym person. Like, I love going to the gym. I love being in there. I love being a part of it. But it's like, do I need to go to the gym Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday? I'm at church on Wednesday, so it's like my nights are spoken for. I'm not getting home until 7:30, eating supper, taking a shower. Well, they're ready to start chilling out by 8:30, and guess who's just eating supper? And it's like, so, it's like I have to step back and look at those things and be like, you know what? Like, I work out for my health, yes, but it's like still at the same point in time, what am I sacrificing? It's like, do I have to go 4 nights a week? What if I just go 2 nights a week? What if I just like kind of move those days around a little bit? And that's where, again, the priority level is at, where you have to look and say, and the thing about it is that, going back to being a pastor for a second, is that everybody expects something from you. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. Your family expects something from you too, because before, and some people kind of get it out of whack. Maybe, I don't know. Some people were a pastor before they got married. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I would want to be. I was gonna say, I don't know if I would want to be in that life, man, because it's just be crazy. But it's like your family expects something from you too, and so it's like you have to begin to prioritize and say, do I try to fulfill the needs of other people, by helping shepherd them through Jesus, or and then put my family on the back burner and be like, well, they understand because they see the calling God has on my life, or do I flip this and go, well, it's like that's really what the world tells you to do. The world tells you to run and burn out and go and do and all this good stuff, but like, what Jesus is like literally over here going, hey, look, like the most important relationship you'll ever have in your life is with me, not with other people, not with your wife and kids. Like the most important relationship you're going to have is with me. And oh, by the way, like after you have that relationship with me, then guess what? Then you know what? Like your relationship with your family, because you are the head of the household and you're supposed to be leading your household, that's going to be the next important relationship that you have, because when Jesus entrusts you to leave your mom and dad, as the Bible says, and to come together with another person, with another woman or another man, I'm not saying like, I'm saying if you're, I was going to say, if you're a man coming together with a woman, if you're a woman coming together with a man,
married man or not
There's so many avenues we could cover. Yeah, there's so many avenues we could cover. So, but once you come together as one flesh, like that's difficult, man. Like it's difficult to be two different people, but yet pursuing the same thing, being on the same page, and adulting the same way. Like that is a very difficult responsibility. And if you're not 100% present, 100% engaged, and 100% there, man, like it doesn't take long for the train to get off the tracks. And then you start getting fighting and fussing, and and it's like, like God's called me and I'm trying to do this church and trying to take care of people, and and you need to be more understanding. And it's like, well, you're leaving us at home by ourselves, and you're not even a dad, and you're not even a husband, and you're just somebody who shows up, and it's like, so you start getting this fighting back and forth, and before you know it, man, it's like you have to step back and just look at priorities and go, well, what has God entrusted me with? What is, like, if I can't steward my family well, if I can't prioritize my family well, like what makes me think that I'm going to be able, like those are like 3 people. You know what I'm saying? Like what makes me think that I can steward 50 people, 100 people, 150 people well, And it's like you said, going back to those boundaries and going back to those, to those places of saying, hey, look, like this is where my attention needs to be focused at right now. And I need to have enough spiritual discernment to know that and to understand that. And if everything else catches on fire, it catches on fire. But I'm taking care of what I feel like God is telling me to take care of and most valuable in my life.
Yeah, I mean, and just kind of like, going back a little bit, wrapping up the ideas that we started this conversation with. But like I think,
we got all kinds of time, bro.
We got talking about
finishing. I was gonna say, I was like, we got like 25 minutes. What else are we talking about?
We started talking about nature. Now we're talking about other stuff. So like, I just want to go back and connect it all a little bit here.
I got you.
But I think we really, what we're trying to say is that sometimes I think we need to take a minute to go back to the basics, right?
Right.
Like God formed us from the earth. God created us.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, that's what I'm saying. Go back to the basics of things. Make things, we've created a life that's so complex. We have schedules, we have deadlines, we have meetings, we have priorities, we have, this, that, or the other. We have comparison, we have all of these sorts of different things that we are constantly thinking about on a daily basis. And we're always trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're trying to make deadlines at work. We're trying to not let those people down, trying to not let our families down, not let our church family down. We're always, going back and forth, worried about this, worried about that. But I think, a lot of what we have to remember is that, again, like we have to get back to the simplistic nature of ourselves, right? Where God created us from this earth to spend time with him. God created us from this earth, everything around us that I don't say everything, but, I think for example, our church goes out on hikes sometimes, during the summer and things of that nature, and like literally nature. But, we go out there and we really, it's interesting to see. I don't really say see. I think it's interesting to feel the difference. When you're out there in the woods and you close your eyes, right? Mm-hmm. And like all you can hear, squirrels running across trees, birds chirping, you feel the breeze, you smell the flowers, you sneeze because of it. But you start to really just feel, right? You're feeling what God's intention was, because the Garden of Eden was a mirror of heaven, right? We wanted to, this is the perfect Eden that God created for people to spend time in. Mm-hmm. But we're experiencing a reflection of that when we're out in nature. We remove ourselves from work, from skyscrapers, from cars, from roads, from emails, from TVs, computer screens, all those sorts of things. We remove ourselves from that, and when it's just us and God. It's just us and nature. It's just us experiencing what God wanted for us. We think a lot about, and we've had conversations about this too, about like, what is this new earth going to look like, right?
Oh yeah.
We're not going to have those needs according to what we read. We're not going to have hunger or all fear, anxiety, all these types of things. I really think it's going to be kind of like that agrarian lifestyle. We talk about how are we going to get food? Are we going to eat?
Where everything is already done for us, and like we just have to partake in it.
Everything is everything's there. Everything's taken care of. It's handled. We're in nature. We have lions laying down with lambs. We have animals. Everybody is just in this cohesive unit together and just experiencing life, experiencing God. In the way. And again, I know to some people this may sound hippie-ish, right? We're all sitting in a circle singing Kumbaya. But I think that is an important part of things, is just trying to go back to the basics, going back to what God has called you to do, going back to finding peace in His presence. Where there's no hustle and bustle, where it's literally just the breeze that He created, the trees that He created, the ground that He created, that you came from.
Right.
It's all about just going back to that basic and getting in touch with God. I'm not saying that you go out into the woods and hang out by yourself like, John the Baptist or whatever, like in caves eating locusts and things like that.
And things like that.
That's not necessarily what I'm saying. I think connection is important. I think community is important. I think, work and purpose is important. But, I do think it is important to also take time to go back to those basics, to spend time. And we talk about meditation, prayer closets. It's all about getting time alone with God where it's nothing but you and His presence.
Yeah.
And I think that you can feel His presence more in nature than you can in anything else.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
Through a trickling brook, or through a waterfall, through the beautiful scenery of fall colors, through a crisp winter morning with snow on the ground and ice hanging off the trees, and through all of these things that God created, God put in motion, God is in control of, that we can't control. We can't control the weather, we can't control nature, but God is in control of. God created it, and just being a part of that and remembering that you are a part of that.
Yeah.
I think will really bring you back to a deeper, more intimate connection with God.
Yeah, I think like I went hunting with a buddy one morning, and like I was out in the woods, and it was before the sun came up, and as the sun started to come up, like the woods came alive, and that was like one of the most organic experiences I've ever had in my life, because I was just like, it was just breathtaking to like see the sun come up through the trees, and then like you heard the animals begin to wake up. It's like you heard the birds begin to chirp, you heard the leaves begin to rustle, like you heard all of this stuff, man. And it was just an out of body experience almost, where it was like, man, it was like, there's no traffic, there's no hooping and hollering going on, there's no like craziness, like it's just waking up with nature. And that's one of the things where like I still love to go back home to mom and dad's, and they've lived in the same house for like up 10 million years. And like I can still tell you like everybody that lives on that road, and I can still tell you like everything about that road. And what's crazy is that like everything, I joke about it, but I'm like, everything is 1997 down there, and it's like, it's just so simple. There's no traffic buzzing up and down the road, like just breakneck speeds. And there's no, like, you can get out and walk up and down the road. You can hear cows move. You can see deers move. You can see and it's so peaceful. And I think like more than anything, man, like when people are looking for peace, like they look for peace in so many places, and trust me, the wrong places. And trust me, like peace is found in Christ. I'm not going to say that it's not, but like I also think that peace is found in the simplicity of what Christ has made as well. And like whenever you can set out on a back porch, man, or a side porch, and just you can watch the sun go down, and then you can hear the crickets, and then you can hear the frogs, and then you can and it's like, and you're sitting underneath and being a part of God's creation. And it's like there's just this overwhelming sense of peace where it's like, man, like it's like you can breathe easier, and you just feel like that the world, it's almost like you have put a door up and a wall up to the world, and you're like in your own little area doing your own thing, and it's just so peaceful, and it's like we search for peace and we search for this rest in the wrong areas a lot of times, like, where it's just like,
this new job,
yeah,
new car,
exactly,
new
yeah, and it's like,
new pill, new
yeah,
drink,
and it's like we try to. It's like in order to find peace, we surround ourselves with more chaos. You know what I mean? And it's like
it's manufactured peace.
Oh, it's manufactured chaos too. And we just never find it. We never find it because we always try to surround ourselves with more. And really, honestly, like more even makes us more tired. I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we've been saying. I mean, you fill your lives with too much.
Yeah.
We fill our lives with too much. I fill my life with too much. I mean, and I'm constantly, like I said, it's 12 o'clock at night, and I'm scrolling through, my phone because I'm like, I want something in front of my face to, just spark my brain to keep me moving, keep me awake, keep me going. And it's just like we constantly do that.
I'm like right the opposite. I feel like that if I can't go to sleep, that I'll scroll or read or watch TV or something. And I feel like that it's like if I focus on something long enough, my eyes will it's almost like I'm tricking myself. My eyes will get tired and then I'll go to sleep. So I'm like right the opposite from you. But I feel like we're doing the same thing, but just with different mindsets,
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's just, ultimately, though, it just goes back to the fact that we are filling our lives with so much, trying to find something that God, again, going back to the basics that God gave us in the very beginning.
Yeah.
God created the world in, 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
He created everything that you see, the oceans, the birds, the animals, the trees, the fruits, the grass, all that stuff. He created in 6 days for us to spend time in. And, his original plan and purpose was for us to spend time in that garden and in his presence, surrounded by peace and surrounded by nature. God didn't tell Adam that he had to work and toil the ground until after they sinned, right?
Right.
God wants us to rest in his presence. He wants us to be at peace in his presence. And like I was saying, this whole time, I think, again, I'm not saying that you can't feel his presence. So this is going back to what I said earlier. I believe that you can feel his presence. You can feel his peace in the middle of a church, in the middle of your office building. Because, like I said, God's spirit is in everything around you. His spirit, his presence is all around you.
Yeah.
You can feel him in, like I think I'm thinking about my room that I have at work, and the concrete bricks that make up the wall, right? God was in the rock. God was in the mortar, the stuff that was putting that stuff together. God was in the fibers of the chair that I sit in. God's presence can be felt in all those things, but it's all about setting your heart in the right position. Not seeking after, these manufactured versions of peace, but seeking after him. Meditating, like we said, getting alone in that prayer closet where the only thing you see, it's pitch black in there. You got the door shut, and you can focus on, the air moving around you. You can focus on the fibers of the clothes touching your skin, Lord. You can feel, God's presence all around you in those moments. But we keep ourselves so distracted. We keep ourselves so busy. We keep ourselves so bogged down, and so it's hard for us. And we think that, it's funny that we think we have to add something else in order to receive peace. Instead of removing things, we feel like we have to add something. We have to add a new job. We have to change cars. We have to change jobs, get a new phone, get a new game, get a new this. We think we have to add something, or in a lot of times with God, it's just about removing things. It's about removing those things off of your life, and setting those down and experiencing the peace that he wanted us to experience in the very beginning. It's all of this, the whole plan, the Bible itself was to get us back from Genesis, where he put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, to get us back to that point.
I think that, like, honestly, that we have bought into a lie of consumerism versus Christianity, and it's always like, we want to do more. We want to be more. We want to get more. We got to have more. And it's like the more that we get, like, this took me a long time to understand with vehicles. Now, Nick, he's trailing a little bit behind me, but he'll get there one day. But what really took me time to understand was that the more that I keep adding on, like, it's nice, it looks good, it's fun, but I still have to take care of it. I still have to pay for it. And the more that I take care of it and pay for it, guess what? Like, it's still going to be a long time to get there, And like, I'm literally like, Lord willing, Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise and nothing crazy transpires. Like, I will literally have my first paid off vehicle ever in December of next year. Like, I've got like 12, 13 months left, and that's it, And I'm just like, and like with that, it's like you still have a vehicle, but now you don't have that added weight and pressure of trying to go make a payment every month, and you're just like, like it's like a, and it's like my phone, man. It's like my kids have the basic iPhones. They're like the SEs, yeah, is what they're called. Like my kids have the basic SEs. Me and my wife have like 15s. I think they've made like a 27 by now or something, 17. Maybe 17. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. So it's like, but still, like I looked at my payment plan the other day, and it's like I think I have like 11 months or something left, and then done, bro. It's like done. And you know what? Like, let me have the 15. Like I don't even care. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even care, bro. Like forget it. Is my payment going to change that much? Like $40. Yeah, like $40, man.
But I mean, between your car and the phone,
man, yeah, it's like $60. But the things that I feel like that the more that we have and the more that we add, it's like it's like it makes us have fun in the moment. It feels good in the moment.
Yeah,
it's
that
instant, it's that instant gratification. But then, and whenever you get to the point of where you're like, man, you're like, got to make a cell phone payment this month, got to make a vehicle payment this month, got to make a credit card payment this month, got to make this month, got to make that, and it's like, and you go back and you're like, well, did you really need it? Did you really need it?
So many times.
And
bro, I look back.
I have felt so guilty of the mentality of, well, I didn't need it, but I wanted it, and I don't know how long life is going to be, so I'm going to live it while I'm here, And it's like, well, like life expectancy right now, life expectancy right now is 78 in the U.S., and so it's like those decisions you made 12 years ago. Guess what? You're still paying for them, and so it's crazy to think about, man, that again, in church, in life, that we feel like that the more that we add on, the more peace that we're going to get. And it's like, no, man, it's like whenever we look at the Bible and we look at especially the New Testament, when Jesus is like, don't take nothing with you. Like, don't take nothing. Like, like I'm going to take care of you. Just trust me. And for us, it's like we would have to go buy the snacks. We'd have to go get the newest bags to pack, the newest coolers. Like we'd have to plan out the trip. Like hey, while I'm over at old man Raleigh's house over here, it's like I heard there was a new fun park over here too, and a new water slide, and it's like let's hit that up after we minister to him, and and it's like we're doing all of this stuff, man. But it's like, are we truly at peace? Are we? At a day and an age where like, where the churches are fighting and people are fighting and Christians are fighting. And we was joking about Nicki Minaj standing up for the Christians in Nigeria before we got on here. But, it's like when in a day and an age, man, where it seems like there's more fighting and more chaos than what there is peace, it makes me step back and go, where am I focusing my peace at? Like, where am I trying to find peace at? And I feel like that peace is less with the world and less with the worldly things and more with God.
Yeah, I mean, how many people just, especially coming up in New Year's, but how many people decide that like, hey, I'm gonna get off social media for a month. I'm gonna stop doing this. I'll stop doing that. And because I mean, the thing is in theory, it does sound, like
sounds great.
It sounds amazing.
Sounds great, bro.
Bull crap, and then you forget how addicted you are to it.
Right.
And after a couple of days, you're like, oh, God, what's going on with them over there? I wonder what's going on. All these people at work are talking about this. I have no idea what's going on. Let me check Facebook. You know what? I'll just check 5 minutes a day. Not that big a deal, right?
Right.
5 minutes a day turns into 15 minutes a day.
Here I am.
We're having a podcast. Keenan can't get off it. But I think, again, and I will be 100% transparent, 100% honest. One of the biggest things I know, right? If anybody should. Yeah. But, I think one of the biggest things that I struggle with, as Keenan kind of alluded to, is just always that constant chase and pursuit of new, of better, of different, of, that shiny new thing. It's always, a different car, different phone, different game, different, this, different that.
It's nice.
It's always just been something that I've chased. But another thing that I've, become aware of is that what I want more than anything is just to feel, I know we've joked about this too, but to feel that kind of peace that Paul had. where he's in the middle of a jail cell, getting beaten, bruised, banged up,
Sunday.
all that kind of stuff. But I mean, he still had peace. He still had contentment. He still had joy. He still had hope. He still had, and I'm like, he wasn't saying, he was literally telling people like, if you don't give me anything, fine. If you don't take care of me, fine. I'll be taken care of.
Yeah.
And it's
just that's another level, man.
It's another level, and I mean, it's something that I've struggled with for a long time. I think is just that constant chase of contentment. That this new car will bring contentment, that this new job will bring contentment, that this new whatever will bring contentment. And one of my biggest prayers lately, I mean, like I said, just to be bold and honest, one of my biggest prayers right now is that God will help me to be happy and to have joy and to have peace despite what car I'm driving, and, despite what job I have, despite what season of my life that I'm in.
How old are you?
28.
28,
I think.
Yeah, I had to think too. See, so like I got 12 years on you, man, and like it took me like till like yesterday to figure to figure that out. But it's like I think it's just something that evolves over time too. Like once you start to get to a point in life where you're like, where you love your spouse, you love your kids, and and it's like, what am I really? It's like, what am I really trying to accomplish out here? You know what I'm saying? It's like I want to. I want to be healthy. I want to feel good. But it's like outside of that, outside of taking care of my wife and kids and stuff like that, it's like what am I? What it's like, kind of like what you said. Like, what is a new car gonna bring? What is a new car gonna add to the value of my life? Anything? You're right. It's gonna take your value down, but it's like these things that we get because I mean, I used to be the same way. Like, it's like if there was a PlayStation 12 that came out, let me get it. Let me get the game, let me get the new car, let me get the new phone, let me get some new clothes, let me get some new stuff, let me get this, that, and the other. And it's like, it's nice, it's fun, it's nice, but it's like at the end of the day, does it add more value to my life? Is it like, are people going to be like, there's Keenan with the new car? It's like, no, because you want to know why? Because a lot of people have new cars. A lot of people have the new stuff that we're trying to get to. So it's not like it's separating us. It's not like it's literally game changers in our lives. It's just the fact of that we like new stuff, that we like new things, and new things make us happy. Shiny things make us happy for a certain amount. Yeah, it's for a certain amount of time. And then past that, it's just kind of like, man, like, I don't know, man.
Something else comes along.
Something else, exactly, But, I think it's just an evolvement of life, man. As you get older, it's like the things that literally make you happy now is like placed more in the home versus out from the home, And it's like you just kind of get to a point where you're like, I got a steady home. I got people calling me, man, and I got a steady home. I got, a wife who loves me, kids who love me. I got a job. The lights are on, the water's running, things like that. It's like you got a roof over your head. So it's like those are the things that you begin to become thankful for, and those are the things that you begin to deem important. And when those things are happening, you have like this new amount of peace that is just like, man, it's like, and I mean, I just, it's a different level of peace, I feel like, but you have to get to that area where you're like, you know what, man, like this is the most important stuff that's in front of me right now. And you get to that point and you're like, I'm good to go. Like people are gonna have opinions of you no matter what, no matter if you have the new stuff or not the new stuff, no matter what you do, people are gonna have opinions of you. You can't change those. But the crazy part is that I feel like, and I know you're going to look at percentages and go, 52% of marriages end in divorce, Keenan. Like that's a stupid comment you're about to make. But I do say this. I truly feel like that if two people come together with the right intentions and with the right moments and the right heart placement and they're trying to work at this thing together, that I feel like what you will build together will be beautiful. And I feel like it's something that you will want to keep going. And that is something that you can hang your hat on at the end of the day and be in pride with and say, hey, look, like I may have not got it right in a lot of places in life, but I got it right where it was most important.
And I think one thing, just because I know there's other people who are dealing with the same thoughts, same ideas, same failures, same struggles, you know, and all that kind of stuff. You know, again, we don't have it all together, obviously.
Oh,
you
no,
know, we're
of course
still
not.
learning stuff. You know, our minds, our hearts, our souls, our spirits are still changing and growing and learning and adapting and all these sorts of different things. You know, one of the biggest things, you know, that I'll stop, you know, here with is, you know, like I said, you know, one of my biggest struggles is trying to find contentment and joy and peace despite what's going on, where no matter what I'm doing, where I'm at, what job I have, what I'm driving, whatever. And I said, one of the hardest things that I've been praying to God about is that it's something I can't force. You know, I think there's a lot of people out there that are like, you know, I think, you know, we've been real on this podcast a lot about, you know, like depression, anxiety, you know, these types of things. You know, they're real, they exist, and they don't just go away on their own. It takes work, it takes effort, it takes prayer, it takes sometimes medication, therapy, whatever. You know, it takes stuff to make that type of stuff go away. You know, and you know, I think there's a lot of people that are probably, you know, listening that are dealing with something, struggling with something, and you know, they know that it's wrong. They know that they're, you know, they know they want to change. It's just a matter of how, right? And I think one thing that makes people the most uncomfortable is that sometimes it just takes time. It takes time. It takes prayer. It takes trusting God's timing. You know, for that change, for that, you know, thing to come around. You know, like one of the biggest things I've struggled with for a long time, you know, is comparing myself to people older than me. You know, I ask myself all the time. You know, I'll be sitting here right now. It's like, you know, Keenan just said he's got 12 years on me, right? You know, and I'm like, I should be where he's at. You know, I'm like, I don't have time for 12 years. Like, I don't have time to wait 12 years. I need that right now. And again, that's something that I've struggled with for a long time too. But you know, I think a lot of it again just goes back to what we started the podcast talking about, is just slowing down, taking time, you know, finding what's important, getting back to the basics, you know, finding God in nature, taking time to relax and meditate in Him and on Him and with Him, you know, and just trusting that life's a process. You know, miracles happen, things do change overnight, but that's the very small minority of how things work. You know, and God's got His own timetable, God's got His own reasoning and His own purpose. You know, all I can say is keep hope, maintain hope, retain hope, continue to hope that, you know, and have faith that God will take care of you. God will provide you with answers. God will take care of your need. God will answer your heart's desires. He will, you know, work with you and walk with you, you know, but it's just all about retaining and maintaining that level of hope that so many people just don't have in modern world.
In the modern worldism.
Modern world. I was gonna say America, but it's like I'm pretty sure people in India and Canada,
they struggle with the same stuff, bro. They struggle with the same stuff. So, again, we thank you so much. I know that we are probably all over the place all the time whenever we start, because we don't have an agenda. We just roll with it, and we just talk about what kind of comes to mind and comes to heart and what's on our heart. And hopefully you can sense how real that is, you know, through listening. And again, we appreciate you so much. Continue to hit the download button. Continue to tell people about People Suck, Love Them Anyways. And until we see you again, we love you so much. Be blessed.